And I'm Jessica Bishop.
And you're listening to Through Dangers Untold, a monthly art podcast about traversing the precarious gap between art school and a professional, sustainable art career. And what are we working on this week?
This week, I'm basically just trying to I caught up on lots of stuff post DragonCon, budgeting, all the fun stuff, and also started painting again. Yay.
Awesome! That's
Yeah,
good
since I finally
news.
felt better. Yeah, after all the stress of trying to get ready for that.
Oh, I'm so
So,
glad to hear it.
yeah, me too. It's like I make something again.
Yay! That's great.
What about you?
I am working on trying to design some different products for a Kickstarter I want to do next year. So,
Okay.
figuring out how to make that work and figuring out how to um, do pins. So, just kind of figuring out format for that and that kind of stuff. So, that's
That
what I've
always
been
looks super
working.
complicated to me. Maybe it's not as bad as I think, or is it?
It's working with vectors. So,
Yeah. No, I hate that.
you don't have to. You can work with just doing a line drawing in Photoshop, but I'm so like perfectionist and nitpicky that I'm doing it in vectors. So, yeah,
Are you well, you drew it first and then you transferred it into vector.
I did, and I'm
Yeah.
cleaning that up in Illustrator and then doing the color in there. The thing that I'm finding most finicky is just like making it the right line weight so that you can see what it's actually going to be because it's so small, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
Mm-hmm.
anyway, it's interesting.
That we'll have to do an episode on that eventually
Yeah,
once we've got some experience down.
yeah, it's interesting and so popular right now, you know? So,
It really is. Like I saw like so many people like with pins and also selling pins, and
nice.
like everyone had one.
Nice.
Yeah, it was interesting.
That's cool.
Um, okay. Before I get distracted talking about other stuff,
Easy
I
to do.
guess we will talk about DragonCon and other cons today.
Yeah.
Um, so we did something different this time, and we asked the people of the internet to give us some questions, and that worked out really well. So I thought that we would kind of go through those questions and also like add some more notes in on things that like questions that we think were missed or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, so let's start with like some pre-con questions, and I feel like this is a good starter. Um, so like, why do a con? Like a specific question we got is, what is your main goal when you do a con? And like, does your goal change depending on the con?
Mm-hmm.
Um, see, Ellen asked us that. Okay. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I can.
Sure.
Uh,
Okay, go for it.
if you want. Um, yeah, there are a lot of reasons to do conventions. Um, I think it's very personal. It's a very personal question. You have to kind of search in your soul about why you do it for you because there are a lot of different reasons. Um, I personally do conventions because I love interacting with people, even though I'm terrified of it. I love seeing their face as they react to the art. It's wonderful, especially when you work at home alone and you kind of can lose sight of what your art is for and if it's any good. And so having that feedback, having people pass by, even if they don't buy things, and seeing their faces as they go, oh, wow, that's beautiful, or oh, wow, that's cool, um, I think is a great recharge. So I love that. I think that's important, and
What it
helps me not feel so lonely doing art. What were you gonna say, Jess?
what if they make a bad face?
Then whatever. Then my art is not for them.
Yeah, that definitely happened to me a few times.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Like some of my art got pretty like polarizing reaction. Like some people were just like, why? I think the pink turned people off.
Really?
Yeah, like I mean, mostly men.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Whatever then.
Yeah. But I don't know. It was interesting, but I just want to clarify no one was mean.
That's good.
So I don't want anyone to think that they're gonna go, because that was a big fear of mine, is I was gonna go in and like people were gonna be really mean. But yeah, also like I think one thing to mention is that like if you're doing like your first con, it's definitely not for profit. It's definitely for marketing. And we'll go into that, but I think that's a good point to put out there. Even if your end goal is profit eventually, like that can't be your goal the first time.
No.
Like it'll be very hard to make that goal.
Yeah, no, if not impossible. I mean, unless you're like super, super lucky. I think most of the time
exactly.
That's hard. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever known anyone who like profited off their first one.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Like I think people have like it's more likely to break even, which that's like amazing.
Yeah. And even that is really rare and awesome if it happens.
Right.
As far as I can tell, listening to people's experiences. But yeah, marketing, right? So you're trying to reach your audience. You're trying to expand your audience. You're trying to tell people you exist. You're trying to say, hey, art community, I'm here. I'm part of you.
Yes.
Hey, art directors that are walking by, like, I'm part of the scene now. Maybe you'll remember my name later. That kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Yes. 100.
Yeah.
And also from Ellen, they were wondering how we choose our cons. That one's kind of hard. Like, I mean, it is and isn't. It's definitely like kind of up to you personally. I think just do a lot of research and like see like what kind of artists are getting into each con, and why. You know, like for example, like if you're a comic artist, obviously you're gonna want to do a comic con, or if you do anything related to comics, because that's a good market for you probably. But then, you know, if you do fantasy art, you might want to look into some like other kinds of cons, and even small cons. And also, I think it comes down to like how far are you willing to travel, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Also, let's see, like how did we get started? And I think we could talk now about like inventory and money.
Yeah.
So like a pretty common question I think is like how did you get how much money did you put aside? Sorry. How much money did it take to get started? And how much inventory do you need? $2,000 I think is the consensus.
Yeah, that's been my experience and what I've gleaned listening to people. And maybe that number is off, but as far as I can tell, that seems to be kind of standard.
Yeah, I think so. Because you have to remember you're getting your first time stock on top of paying for your table and also paying for all your booth decorations, which gets really pricey really quick. You can't walk out of like a Michael's craft store without spending $50 at least.
Oh yeah. Favorite. I love that place.
I also love Michael's.
I honestly can't walk out of Michael's without spending like $50 anyway.
Exactly.
Let alone.
And they have all their Halloween decorations.
Oh, I know. So great.
So I actually, when I did the numbers, I only spent $1,000.
Oh, nice.
I don't know how I did it. Probably because I had your help of where to go and buy things.
Woohoo!
Um, yeah. However, I made up, it was more than $2,000, like when it came to adding the travel in.
Yeah.
The traveling killed me. I think it was about $2,000 for the travel costs.
Yeah, that's average,
Because it
depending on
was
how far
almost,
away. Yeah.
yeah. And I brought my helper with me. Don't do that. That
That does add
that
costs.
added $400
Mm-hmm.
because you're talking about a plane ticket there and back for two people. So that's $800 because I'm a terrible flight planner.
Mm-hmm.
I did it too late, to be honest. Um, so that's something to take into consideration. And as far as inventory, I messed up on my inventory too.
Mm-hmm.
Sonnett, you told me, I believe it was five of each, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did 12.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible mistake.
It's a lot more expensive.
It's that actually wasn't it was a little bit more expensive
Mm-hmm.
um with the printing costs, but it was mostly more expensive in that it added weight
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't move all the prints.
Yeah.
Like I That sucks. And then that felt really terrible trying to take it all back with me too.
Right? And then you have to store it. So it's like, and I did the
Yeah.
same thing. I did the same thing for my first con. I ordered too many. And I eventually had to throw away that first batch of prints because it's just, I changed paper stock. And
Yeah.
it's just like,
And then they get terrible.
yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people do that. You see it a lot online. People say, oh, order 10. And I found that that's too much, except for until you start to figure out which ones you sell a lot, and then you order more of those, right? You make
Right,
sure
because
you have a lot of those prints. But yeah, go ahead.
like
Sorry.
you're gonna be surprised at what people buy.
And that's going to be different at every con. So
Right, that too. That is what
weird.
I've heard.
It's a weird thing.
Um, yeah, so the person who asked about stock, actually, I'm sorry, there were a few people that asked about stock, but
Mhm.
if you have done this like before and done like regional cons, um, like you should be able to just kind of base it on that, and like if it didn't sell out, then kind of stick with that number. Or lower it. If you did sell out, then you might want to print extras.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, people, especially depending on how much you're pricing it, though, I feel like is another big thing. And I feel like pricing could take a whole nother episode.
Yeah, and also, I mean, pricing is really variable too. It depends on the convention. It depends on the type of art you do. Um, it's it's kind of complicated. But I just, yeah, I have a lot of feelings about this. Mostly about don't sell yourself short because it's expensive to do this.
Yeah, and when people like it, they will pay for it.
Yeah.
The difference between $20 and $25, I think, for someone that likes your art, probably won't be that much of a difference.
No.
Unless they're a literal child, then maybe because they have an allowance.
And they're like, no. That's when you have your like your little like $5 item or
Exactly. I definitely like there were quite a few like younger people that liked have like a $5 postcard.
Mhm.
Have something like that, or stickers.
Yeah, it's nice to have something. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of different competing ideas about this. Some people say don't have that item, the low dollar item, because you want everything to start at 25 so that it raises your overall market price or the amount of money that you're going to make, your base price. And other people are like, it's nice to have that little item for kids, for younger fans, that people who may not buy something but will buy that. So I don't know. It's up to you on what you want to do. I like having the smaller pieces because I like being able to have something for that demographic. You know.
I like the accessibility of it.
Yeah. Right. Like having something that somebody can just have. I don't know. It's kind of philosophical. I guess, yeah. There are people that would argue that it's bad business. I don't know. And there are people that would argue it's good. It just depends on what kind of artist you want to be.
And that can change, too. Like, you don't have to lock that in. Like,
no.
I'm going to be this kind of artist forever.
Yeah, no. Seriously, just try things out and see what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, like, from what I've gathered, everyone changes their plan for each con. Which sounds exhausting, but I think it's okay. I think it's good to like be flexible like that.
Yeah.
Also, the fan art question, like people that are selling fan art and like how do you sell fan art? So for that, we did do another episode. That was from Stephanie, and you can go look at that episode. A lot of people do it. A lot of people don't do it. It's kind of like a gray area. And it works for a lot of people. It's just one of those things that's kind of like a personal decision. You are always like running the risk of like, quote unquote, getting in trouble. But that's totally up to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add to that one?
I don't think so. It's a valid choice. I think ultimately, like we say a lot on this podcast, is it something you like to do? Don't just do it to make money. Do it because you love it or you love the character and you want to do something in your style. Honestly, that's the best way to go.
I know there are a lot of artists out there that will purposely plan fan art pieces around cons and around what fandom has a new thing coming out around that time. And that works for them.
Yeah.
And that is fine if that's what you like to do. But again, like if you don't like to do that, don't do it, because that's just a lot of stress. For something that like if you're not enjoying it, then it's not going to turn out good, and then it's not even worth it.
Yeah.
Which has kind of been like my thing with fan art is like I find myself usually not enjoying it, and then it doesn't turn out right, and that's not worth it. So that's also kind of personal. But yeah, we've gone into that before. We could always go into it again at a later date.
Yeah.
But this would take up the entire time.
Indeed.
Okay. Kate asked, how do you know when cons are accepting applications? And this is a lame answer, but the truth is you don't know. You just have to constantly check.
Yep.
They change. We were just talking about this, and they change every year, like what times they're going to be looking for people, and they don't really announce it. I've tried signing up for mailing lists and everything, and it doesn't really work.
Yep.
You just have to look on their websites, on the cons websites, and also like kind of research what cons you're interested in, make a list. Make a list of general times that they should be accepting applications theoretically, and then check during those times.
Yep.
You just have to stay on top of it, unfortunately. I miss things constantly.
Yeah, same. I do too. And this is another time too when it's good to be part of an art community, to be part of a peer art community, and you can find a lot of these online. One Fantastic Week is a good one to join. It's pretty easy to get into that one if you're into fantasy art. and they're pretty good at saying, oh, hey, this convention is coming up. And they're also a great resource for learning about tabling. But that does help when you have peers who are kind of you're kind of looking out for each other, like, oh, are you going to apply for this? You know, let's do this. And that way you can also coordinate to split costs for tables or hotel rooms or any of those kinds of things, rides, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
You want to try to buddy up to save as much money as possible. It really helps.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're talking about trying to make a profit while spending so much money in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's difficult.
It's super difficult.
Especially if you're traveling, like, you have to remember how much you're spending.
Yeah.
Like, even on food.
Yep. Some people are really good at it. Some people are really good at being thrifty and cutting corners in a really smart way. And boy, I am not. I'm older too now, so I'm like, I don't think I can share a room with like 20 people. I snore. People would hate me.
I couldn't do it.
Huh?
I could not. I couldn't stay with other people. I could stay with some people.
Yeah, but like that whole thing where you sleep on the floor and it's like 20 people, I don't think I could do it.
No.
But that's me. That's me. Like other people, no problem. Like they're fine with it and they save a lot of money. Huh?
Do it if you can.
Yeah, you save a lot of money that way. But yeah.
I also recommend Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
I had a great time just doing that, and it was way more affordable.
Yeah.
And also, grocery stores are your friend.
Oh, so much.
Yeah, we just Amazon Primed the food to the Airbnb.
Oh, nice.
Because we would have had to pay for a car to get to the grocery store. So at that point, we just did that and saved a bunch of cash that way.
Nice.
You know, so then we always had breakfast and dinner when we were in the Airbnb.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that helped a ton.
Yeah, that saves a lot of money.
Okay. And another stock question, like how do you figure out how much of each product to keep in stock? It's kind of the same thing as earlier. Just watch. It gets easier. I don't actually know this, but from what Sonnett has said and other people have said, it gets easier as you go to each con because you can get like a read of what pieces people are interested in, what types of things people are interested in, and it'll change, of course. But I would I guess as a general blanket statement, if you have stuff that sells, I would keep 5 at least with you.
Yeah. I definitely recommend keeping everything at a level, like a 5 level. So before I go, I'll do a little, to each different con, I'll do a little restock, which is more expensive because you're not ordering in bulk. But it's less expensive because you're not spending $500 on prints, you know? So it's like, it's kind of give or take. But yeah, so I try to maintain everything at 5. And then for ones that I know sell more, I try to keep it 10. Because you do want to have those ones in stock. You don't want to lose money on that. Because if you can't sell them the thing that they want, then, you know, it's a loss kind of. But you get to know that just doing the conventions, and unfortunately there's kind of no shortcut to that. You just have to do it, be attentive, see what people are buying, make a list of what people are buying, and just keep an eye on it, and you'll start to see what things sell more. But it is surprising because depending on the convention, it could be way different things. So, yeah, it's cool. It's fun. It's fun to see what a fairy festival crowd will buy as compared to a comic crowd, as compared to a street festival. It's really interesting. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Because you're getting a totally different market walking the door.
Mm-hmm.
Different types of people with different interests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you keep track of that and you start to kind of observe who is buying your art, you can kind of start to get an idea of who your target market is.
Yes. And that was my favorite part. I don't think I actually said, but to clarify, this was my first time tabling.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the one part I really liked, was seeing what types of people were interested in my stuff, what demographic. And that was really cool.
Isn't that fun? It's like, who?
Yeah, it was fun. I was because a lot of young girls and like little girls liked my sparkly dolphins and stuff. I was like that.
Awesome.
I was like, I don't know why I didn't expect that because when I was a kid, I liked sparkly dolphins, and now I draw sparkly dolphins, and of
Mm-hmm.
course, duh.
Amazing.
Yeah,
So,
I was like, okay, I'll keep with the sparkly dolphins. I'm glad.
so then maybe
Uh,
having sparkly dolphin stickers is like the way to go.
oh, I think so. Just like people love animals. They
Mm-hmm.
loved the animal art.
I believe it.
It's interesting. Um, but yeah, I think we should transfer to talking about some of the stuff during the convention.
Yeah.
Um, Becca had some really good questions, such as what products did people react most to, and like what drew people to your table.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I would like to talk about, I made those sparkle prints, the holographic shine prints.
Mm-hmm.
People saw those. People would come over and like move their head with the shinies in the light. People really liked that. Most of them didn't buy anything, but it at least got them to the table.
Nice.
Some other ideas like I've had and I've seen other people do are like lights, like little fairy lights, which I had and I brought, but I forgot batteries.
Oh
So
no.
it's okay. If that's the worst thing that happened,
That's not too bad.
yeah. Things like that. I think it's important to like have your table nice. I had a shiny tablecloth too.
Mm-hmm.
And so people actually really reacted to those holographic prints as well. And I also meant to talk about Gabe's question, which was the tabling designs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, their question was, I've seen people with cool table designs to fit in with the theme of their brand, cobwebs, fake flowers, and if there are presets that you can reference already, or do you think that the tables should focus on the products themselves? And like the second part of that question, I think that's totally personal, what you would like to focus on. But I think a well set table draws people in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Having a theme and a brand, I think from a marketing and selling perspective, interests people.
Yes.
It's easier for them to connect and try to identify with your art.
Yes.
So, for example, if you have flowers, fake flowers at your booth, people will expect one thing versus fake cobwebs, right?
Yeah.
And so I think how much decoration would depend on your own personal preference, but I think at least having a good layout, a clear layout, a good banner, your art displayed
Yes.
prominently. The first day I didn't have any of my art like hanging
Mm-hmm.
except for a few pieces, and the second day I decided to hang a bunch of my art on the front.
Mm-hmm.
And originally I didn't do that because I thought it looked stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think it actually really helped the sales
Yes.
because people were forced to look at all my art as they were walking
Yes.
instead of having to come up to the book and flip.
Yep.
So things that even if I didn't like some of those prints, other people that might have liked them were forced into seeing them.
Yes. It gives people options.
And oh God, there's so much here to talk about.
Yeah,
Um,
table design is huge. It's kind of an arcane art. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
making an altar.
It is. It is. And there's a lot of theory and, again, philosophy about this. But yeah, all those things that you said, Jess, is totally spot on. Definitely having your art available and easy for people to access and to see what is available, to see if it's something they want to even look at or see. I mean, And the thing you can do with this is like go study, go to cons, even if you're not tabling. Walk the
Yes.
floor, look at people's booth setups. Make note, like how are they laying it out? How high is their stuff? How is their stuff set out? How visible is their art? Does it look crowded? Does it look clean? I mean, are there a lot of people
Yes.
there? How are they being drawn in? What are the stations? Because there's stations, right?
Hmm.
So it's like there's a whole bunch of things you can do to study this. Again, One Fantastic Week is a good resource. But there's a lot of people that have photographs of their tables online that you can look at to study if you can't get out to a con.
That's what I did.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's really looking at all that researching, trying it, and then changing it in the field because, like you said, Jess, things change, and you're like, this isn't working, and sometimes it's this isn't working in the space, you know.
Yeah.
So you have to adjust as things go. But
I
yeah.
think, yeah, again, being really flexible, I think helps a lot. Bring backup supplies.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I brought that I had as a backup were paper binder clips.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a bunch of those.
Yeah.
Those those are great. You
Oh,
should get some of those, everyone.
they're so handy. Yeah, super
Yeah,
handy.
that really helped. Another thing, no one asked about this, but I thought it was interesting to talk about is backing your prints versus not backing your prints.
Mm-hmm.
So I pre-backed and packaged all of my prints.
Mm-hmm.
That was great for not being stressed. All, like when I packed them in the suitcase, I didn't worry about them getting crushed.
Yes.
They were all secure and snug, and I
Mm-hmm.
just had to whip them out when I got there
Yeah.
and just put them in the box.
Mm-hmm.
But it adds so much weight. So if you're staying local, that's probably like a really good option. But when you're traveling, I think it's harder.
It is. Those boards, they add up really
It's
fast.
so heavy. I
Mm-hmm.
remember getting the boards in the mail when I ordered them.
Mm-hmm.
I could not lift the box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're really heavy.
I could not believe it. I was so upset. Well, I wasn't that upset. I was manageable, but I didn't realize how heavy it was going to be. And I had my dog with me. So I just left the box in
Oh
the middle of
no.
the apartment complex, like in the bottom floor. It was in one of those like lockers,
Mm-hmm.
but then I locked myself out at that point.
Oh no.
Left there, walked them upstairs, and then like went back downstairs. I was already exhausted from walking uphill. It was this 60-pound box, I swear.
Yeah, yeah, they're really heavy.
So that is my story. So think about that before you do it. But I would definitely say you should have some.
Yeah, it's tricky, right? Because it presents such a professional look, and
It it does.
it provides like a really nice package for people to buy. It prevents the. I know when I buy prints, it's frustrating if they're not backed because they get smashed. If I'm walking
Hmm.
around a con, and that just bugs me. So yeah, I don't know. It's tricky, but yeah, when you're traveling, it's just so much more weight. So I don't know. I haven't done an away con where I will do unbacked prints yet, and I won't do it for the next one either, just because I worry so much about them getting smashed. But I don't know. I know a lot of people who do unbacked.
It's hard. My booth mate next to me, their solution was they brought all their prints, but they were not backing all of them.
Mm-hmm.
They just had some backing boards and were backing some of the larger pieces. People bought them.
Huh. Interesting.
Um, yeah, I mean that's what works for them. I think you'll learn a system like what works best for you.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I think is important is keeping track of your inventory as you're selling it. That's really hard to do by yourself, especially if you're selling things like quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can remember, I would write it down right after that
Yeah.
like what you sold.
Yes.
It's so much easier when you're going back later instead of trying to figure it out
Mm-hmm.
if you just already know.
Yep.
That saved a ton of time. I still haven't even unpacked my prints yet.
Mm-hmm.
They're still in the suitcase, but I have all the information already. I just wrote it down as it happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Just keep a tally.
Yep. I think it helps.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Another question we had, um, and this was from, uh, well, their Twitter name was Jeff Goldblum, but I know it's not Jeff Goldblum. They cannot fool me. Okay. Um, it's basically, how do you handle talking people to come up to your table? And like, I think at first glance that question sounds like, well, you just talk to them, but I feel like that's probably really hard for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And my solution to it was just like, you stand the whole time, which was advice that I got from Sonnett.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to sit. You want to be engaging and like looking at people in the eye as best you can, and just say hi.
Yeah.
You don't have to scream at everyone that just walks by, but if someone is obviously like looking at your stuff, it's totally okay to just be like, hi, like, how are you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what I did the whole time. And if people don't want to talk to you, they'll just leave.
Yeah.
Um, Otherwise, a lot of people responded, then you kind of get into a chat.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they'd buy something, sometimes they wouldn't. I don't think it really matters in the end. You know, you're getting practice, you're engaging, talking to people. You're doing the best you can, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because art is one of those things. It's like, I know people have different selling tactics, but at the same time, people are going to like it or they're not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I like to think about it. How do I like to buy things? And then I try to tailor it how I like to be interacted with. Because, yeah, you'll have a lot of people and they'll be like, oh, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. But I think the more they're there to, they want to see who made the art.
Mm-hmm.
They want to say hello to that person, and that's really cool. And then they want to look at the art. Some people just want to zoom in and look at the art and then run away. You know, maybe buy things and then run away.
Those.
Yeah, I've definitely had those. Well,
I loved it. They just like zoom, grab a card, and then zoom it like really scared.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
It's like, okay. Or if they come in and they buy art and then they run away, it's awesome. They're just like, I want this thing and I'm going to buy it and I'm out. And I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah. People are interesting. I think it's good to remember in general, people are pretty nice. Everyone was pretty nice.
Yeah.
So like it's scary to engage people, but you know, it's not like the internet. In general, people will just run away if they don't like you.
Yeah. Yeah. And definitely just starting with a hello and then letting people browse if they want to browse, you know? If they have questions, answer the questions.
Exactly.
You know, and you can let them know if you have sales, but that's really basic. Like if you have a deal, then you can go, oh, well, that's 1 for 25, 2 for 40. So you get that down, and you remember that, and you just say it, and it's pretty easy. Or if you have something about the art that maybe engaging, you know, you can talk about that. But it's just, I don't know. I get nervous too. Like I am good with the hello part, and then I get super nervous. Like I don't know what to do after that point. But so what I usually do is I try to look at their body language and see if they want to engage or not. And then if they don't want to engage and they want to just browse, I'll just look away and let them browse and look at like other things in the con and just wait for other people to come up and say hello. And then I'll kind of keep an eye on them and see if if they seem interested or if they're picking up two things and like comparing them. And if they're doing that, then I'll start to engage with them again to talk about sales or talk about the art. So yeah, it's a lot of reading body language.
It's a lot of learning.
Yeah, it is. It is. Definitely.
I feel like the only way that like I was able to like kind of get over that nervousness hump is I've spent a lot of time talking to people in bars.
That makes sense.
I'm the person who will say something to the person next to them at the bar just because I can. So, but that developed for me later in life. Obviously, I was in a bar. But yeah, I think that's something, again, like it's scary at first, but then very quickly, like if you keep doing it, like you'll just start to get the hang of it.
Yeah, you get more comfortable.
And it's okay to be nervous too.
Yeah.
Like that's fine. Everyone's nervous.
Yeah.
I would, and it's I was nervous talking to the other artists too.
Oh, jeez. That's super stressful.
Right?
Yeah.
But in general, everyone's pretty okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Generally, most people will be nice.
Yeah, especially unless they're really tired or something. Most people want to help and like be positive.
Mm-hmm.
It I was definitely expecting the worst going in. And it was nice to be surprised by the general niceness of humanity.
I'm so glad.
There were definitely some like I think everyone worries like they're gonna get a quote unquote like weird person come up and talk to them, someone that won't go away, someone that is scary or like inappropriate or something like that. And those are like valid fears. And I think with that in general, just remember that it's most likely not going to happen. But if it does happen, like you can always introduce yourself before the con to like the volunteer staff stuff, just so you have someone to reach out to if you need help.
Yeah.
And make friends with your table mates too.
Yes.
So that you've got people that can also listen in and make sure that everything. But in general, everything's fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was a concern of mine, but nothing happened.
I'm glad. That's good.
Yeah, me too. I was really scared of someone coming up and just being mean. I was so scared. I was like, no one please be mean. I was like, my little heart can't take it. I'm already stressed.
I'm glad everybody was nice to you. Generally, the community has been pretty cool, as far as I can tell.
Well, has anyone ever been mean to you? Or like really mean?
No.
Yeah.
No, I had some weird faces when I did Anime Central. I had a couple of people that walked by and they were like, "What is this?" But I was like, "Whatever." It didn't matter. I didn't care that much.
I definitely had some of that. But I think that's okay, especially when you're doing something like fantasy art. Not everyone is going to get it.
No, not everybody has to like your art.
But a lot of people will get it.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
They'll be like, "Oh, that's cool."
It feels so good.
Yeah, it felt nice that people liked slugs. It's like, I'm glad to meet these other people that appreciate it.
Yeah.
Slugs are good.
Exactly.
Okay. I guess we should move on in our last here. Hey, this has been timed pretty okay.
Awesome.
So, back from another question from Ellen. Ellen had a bunch of good questions.
Nice.
So what would you consider a good show at the end of the day? Like post-con? Like what does it mean for the con to be a success? I think...
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it depends like on what goals you set in the first place. Like going back to Ellen's first question, like what is the goal of the con for you? I think whatever that goal is, that if you meet that goal, that's great. It's successful.
Yeah.
I think don't set scary, stupid goals.
Yeah. Yeah. Nope.
My goal is like make it through.
Yeah. It was your first con and it was a huge con, so that makes total sense.
It's like make it through, try to make a few bucks. Get, talk to some people, show people your art, and that's good. And if that's your goal, that's your goal. If your goal is to make a big profit, good luck.
Yeah, it takes time to build to that for sure. Unless you're super lucky.
People do make good profits. It's just,
they do.
It's a lot of like work leading up to that, like repeated times.
Yes, it takes time. Yeah. Yeah, you have to build up to it.
It can happen. You just have to be patient and work towards it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And analyze. It's just like anything in art. Look at your setup. Look at your business. Analyze it. See if you can improve it. Look at your art. See if you can improve it. Like, it's just the same thing. Practice. It's all of the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Realistic goals, I think, are really important because it's easy to get caught up in people who are way further along, and they'll like tell their numbers, and you're like, well, why am I not making these numbers? And I think it can be really discouraging. But you have to remember that they have, 20 years on you, 30 years on you, where they've been doing this since high school.
Yeah, I met a few of those that were high schoolers
Yeah, a lot of,
that they were tabling.
yeah, tabling at like Anime Central and stuff. Like
What?
we saw it. We saw kids that looked like they were in high school at Anime Central tabling. So,
Oh, I met some kids that were still in college.
yeah.
And they were like, we're going back to school. And they were like, do you go to school? And I'm like, oh no.
I know that can be really discouraging. Like,
I had to tell them I did a program at their college a decade ago. And they're like, oh. I was like, oh God. Oh God.
Oh.
I was like, oh no, I'm that person. Oh God.
But like, it's like, don't, it just takes time. That's all. It's just hours. It just takes time to get there. So, yeah, I like to set, I mean, financially, I'm trying to make at least what I made at my last con,
Yes.
at my highest number con. I'm trying for that.
That's your goal.
Yeah, like my standard. I'd like to. My goal this year was to double what it had been previously, but I don't know if I'll make it. We'll see. I have a big con coming up. We'll see if that's will happen. If it doesn't, if I make my standard, I'm okay with that. None of it is close to costs. None of it is close to what I spend on it. But I'm okay with that. I'm trying to just slowly see if I can raise that bit by bit as I learn how to do this better.
Yes.
But yeah, beyond that, it's like, can I get more people on my mailing list? Can I hand out more business cards? Can I get my art to more people and a wider audience? Can I meet more artists in the community? And make friends and build those ties. Yeah.
I also think in general, like your first con, like I went into it like I will learn. That is my goal.
Yeah.
And I definitely learned.
Nice.
So, don't be hard on yourself
Yeah.
the first few times.
It's
I think that
seriously,
was
yeah.
the advice I've gotten the most from more experienced people.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just be patient.
Yeah.
But the next question I thought would be a good one for you, Sonnett. Was there a con or show that you've done that was like not the right fit? I actually don't know. I don't know how you will. So I'm curious too.
Yeah, I don't know. Anime Central maybe? Which was my first one, but I was also like learning, so it's hard to tell because there are fantasy artists that do that show and they seem to do fine. They do it every year. So it's really hard to tell.
I think that's a weird one.
It is a weird one. I think it's hard because in general, well, I don't know. I can't give any absolutes because there's not really any absolutes when it comes to cons because it just depends on the person and it depends on the crowd and the art and how well it mixes, and I know it's frustrating because we all want that absolute answer because I was gonna say, oh, they didn't. My work was too priced too high for that crowd, but that's not necessarily true because the fantasy artist that does it that I met, she did matted prints watercolor prints, and she was selling those, and they were pretty high and did really well. So it's kind of mysterious. I mean, I'm sure there's probably analysis you could do of it, and there may be something I'm missing about why that is. It may be that she was doing cute dragons, and so that was really accessible for the crowd. And I have this
That
weird...
was 100% it.
Yeah, I think so.
If she had cute dragons.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't like cartoony dragons. They were beautiful, elegant
dragons.
But they were cute. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah. So that's probably it. And I hadn't figured out how to sell my work with context yet. So people were like, what is this? It's portraits of elves. I don't get it. And I hadn't really figured out how to put the poetry on the back of the print and put, kind of give a story and a context and relabel it so it was more like tarot card labels. So it gave a theme that people could respond to. Like, there was all this stuff I learned from doing that show that later helped my sales a lot. But yeah, I was kind of sitting there like, And this person next to me is selling like amazing anime fan art in the prism prints, and everybody's like had a line down the block.
Those holographic prints, man.
Yeah, I know. And I was like,
that's why I did them.
Yeah, it was interesting. I learned a ton at that show. But yeah, I didn't have enough prints. I was still painting them all, so there was a lot I learned from that. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's okay. Like if that happens to, like, where it's not a good fit, and then you learned still. Like, even if you didn't get a good return on your investment, like you learned something.
Yeah.
One way or another.
I did. I learned how I needed to change things to make things better, and ultimately those changes led to better sales. So, yeah.
I want to do Becca's question. Which product did you make the most total profit from?
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's two ways to approach the question. If you mean profit as in you made the most actual money profit, that doesn't make sense. How am I going to phrase this? How much profit you made when you minus costs, or what sold the most, because those can be different numbers.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the thing that I sold the most of was, well, you know what? I actually don't know. The thing that I made the most money on there was a $25 11 by 14 print of my slug. That made the most money. However, I don't know if that's what made the most profit once I factor in the cost.
Yeah.
Of printing and materials.
Right.
So
so.
Again, it probably is. That would be a safe assumption based on the fact that like doubled the next highest grossing print.
Mm-hmm.
But I think maybe what Becca was also referring to is if you have different products as well. Mm-hmm. So like if one thing is a sticker or one thing is, some people do jewelry and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think my advice with that personally was I'm glad that I limited how much different types of products I was selling for my first one.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot. It keeps the cost down.
Yes.
Because if you're, and what I chose to do is, and some people would say this is terrible, and like in some ways I wish I hadn't done this, but in other ways I'm glad I did, is formatting them all to fit 11 by 14.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to print them all at the same size, and that cut down my print cost tremendously.
Yes.
So I did those, and then I had a few 8.5 by 11 and a few postcard size.
Mm-hmm.
And that saved so much money.
Yeah.
Even if like they didn't look as nice as they could be. And I feel like if you're doing something, like if you want to do something really nice, don't do too many. Like, I would love to do a limited print on like shimmer paper, like shimmer cotton paper.
Oh, yeah. That would be amazing.
I looked into doing my prints on those and it was like $10 million. I was
Ugh.
like, but I could do, 5,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and then charge a lot for those.
Yeah, totally. Because then it's like 5 of 5. Then the the pricing thing, that's a way to recuperate a lot of costs too.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're doing a pricier print, only print so many, and that's it ever.
Yeah, do limited edition.
I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a great way to do it.
Oh, yeah.
But those have to be priced pretty high.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting because I didn't price anything too high, even my canvas print that I brought there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe I should have priced it more. I was surprised, to be honest. That was the one thing I was surprised. I really thought I was going to move that canvas print because it was the slug.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I really thought I was going to move it. It was, I will share, it was priced at 150.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not stretched. I put it in like a frame with a mat,
Mm-hmm.
not an expensive frame. I didn't get it professionally framed.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I was going to move it because everyone loved it. But I mean, that's okay. I didn't move it. That was interesting though.
Yeah.
Um, but that profit margin is smaller than the profit margin on a print.
Yes.
So there's so much that goes into this. Like we could do like 20 million episodes on this.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
I did want to like end this from a question that says, "What's one thing you wish you'd known?" And you should answer it, Sonnett.
What's one thing I wish I'd known?
I guess before you started, I'm trying to think of a good answer to that.
I my experiences were skewed because I started out working with people that were way ahead
That's true.
as an assistant, and that extremely skewed my idea of what was possible at a level coming into this. And so what I wish I had known is that that's an end result of after a long time, as I said before, after many years. And that's a total possibility, but that takes just so many years of work to get there. And when you're just out of school, you're not there. You're just not there. Or most people aren't there. There's probably outliers.
Yeah, I think in general though you're not.
Yeah. So just tempering your expectations, understanding that the business side is just as much of a practice as the art side. And be yourself. Be who you are. You're going to have to figure out how this works best for you so that it's an enjoyable experience and so that it works for you specifically and for your art. And that's going to mean a lot of different things. It may mean that you go to shows that you think are dumb. You may be going to craft shows that you think are really stupid and for like old ladies. But you may make a nice profit there that you didn't realize you could if you didn't try it out. So, like, be open. Be open to opportunities. Be open to weird ideas about where you should go. That may be your audience. Keep trying things. Keep practicing. Keep changing things around. Keep learning. Keep an open mind on how you can do this. Don't get too caught up in not making those numbers yet. That's what I wish I had known.
I think for me, I wish I had just known that it wasn't going to be a total trash fire.
Yeah. I'm so glad it wasn't.
Like I made mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
but they were totally like I managed them. They were things that I was like, okay, this is how I'm going to fix it, and then I fixed it.
Nice.
Like I think it's funny though because that's the one thing that everyone kept telling me, including you, Sonnett, Like it'll be okay, right?
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be like it'll be fun. It'll be fine. And that's what everyone kept telling me. And I was like, you guys are all wrong. And you have no idea the pain of an artist, especially when talking to like my parents and stuff. Like you don't understand my pain.
Wow.
Like this is my whole entire soul on the line. Like that kind of stuff. And my soul is fine. It is unharmed.
Oh, good.
And there were moments in there where I felt discouraged, but there were other moments where I didn't feel as discouraged, and it kind of balanced out in the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I'm like, okay, that was okay. I learned some things. I know what to do better next time. I can. The fact that I was able to sit here and talk about it today, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I wish we had like a million hours so that we could talk about all this and like really try to plan out and answer all these questions, but we don't have that time.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. I wish everyone luck.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I think is the biggest thing that I think people need to hear is that, and it's okay to make mistakes, and
yeah.
Just do your best, and people are going to try to be supportive.
It can be really fun too. So.
Yeah, I in the end I was enjoying talking to people.
Yeah.
I had a man come up and talk to me for like 30 minutes. And
wow.
He was very old, and he was dressed as Gandalf.
Aw.
And I couldn't really hear him. He talked like this. And but it was cute.
Yeah.
You meet some interesting people.
Yeah, it's fun. You get to hang out with nerds and be a nerd and just enjoy.
And you're likely to find someone who enjoys the things that you're painting, or like the same types of things you're painting. They'll have those same interests. Like I found other people that really liked slugs. Like that's cool.
Yeah. It's amazing.
So I think it's worth it, and it's fun, and just don't beat yourself up over it, and do all the prep work you can so that you feel good about it, and then it'll be okay. And unfortunately, like you were saying earlier, you wish there was like a definitive answer for everything. There's not, and I wish there was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah. And I think that pretty much wraps it up.
That was awesome. So many good questions.
Right? People really had some, like, I was really pleasantly surprised. And like, I'm glad we didn't get any more, because we couldn't have fit them all in.
I know. That's just right. The perfect amount.
Like, I was glad that when I tweeted it, people responded. I was like, oh, okay. And like, they were good. It's like, these are good questions, because I was kind of lost at what do people want to know.
Yeah.
Because when I asked you, like, before DragonCon, I was like, what do I do? And you gave me that sheet.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, answers. Answers. But it was cool too, because then I went to the con and other people were asking me about certain things that you had told me about, and then I was able to give them that knowledge.
So great. Pass it on.
Yeah, it was just like, well, I did this, and this is where I got it. And that was really great.
Wonderful. That's right. Share the knowledge so we can all thrive. Let's do it.
Exactly. Which is what we do here. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Definitely. All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You have been listening to Through Dangers Untold. Our logo was created by Karen Hodo, and you can find her online at kmhododesigns.com. And you can find me at sonnettshelline.com, and also on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook at Sonnett Shelline. And Jess, where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter at JRUBishop, which is just my initials and my last name. And my website is jessicarubishop.com.
Excellent. And join us on October 9th for our next podcast. And thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next month.
Good night.
Good night.